Bloomberg Audio Studios.
Podcasts, radio, news.
Single best idea on Apple Podcasts. Thank you for subscribing. Tell your friends. I'm desperate to have more listeners. Single best idea. We're growing it out every day. It's 6 minutes of smart, maybe 5 minutes, maybe 7 minutes. 2 ideas typically from our wonderful guest. Today was a brutal day of excellence. We had some incredibly smart voices. For those of the gloom persuasion, Matt Smith of the University of Edinburgh joined from Ruffer, a name I didn't know. It's a wonderful investment house in the United Kingdom, with that caution that's pretty rare right now in this bull market. Maybe you're not a bull, maybe you're not in the Magnificent Seven, but it is sort of up and away in our beautiful balloon. Ruffer saying no, they're extremely cautious and just simply out of Mag 7. It was a really welcome, a different tone. We did a little less politics today, and I wanted to fold the political moment in Washington into where we're going to be after the first Tuesday of November. Elsa Lignos is incredibly competent with work for the EU in Brussels. She's with RBC Capital Markets. Her note is absolutely brilliant, always looking at depreciation and controlled depreciation of the Chinese yuan. Here's Elsa Lignos on Trump and Biden.
Certainly, if you look at the bookies markets, the betting odds, they give Trump the advantage heading into the November election, right? And when I speak to investors and clients, I would say a very large majority expect a Trump victory. And yet, I expect that actually the dollar would probably move less on a Biden victory, in that it would be perceived as an extension of the status quo. On a Trump victory, on a Trump second term, there's some very diverging views on what that would mean for the US dollar. Many people out there, myself included, think it could be pretty dollar positive, particularly if he's very aggressive on the tariff front. But others argue the long-term debt sustainability of the US or the pressure that Trump may put on the Fed would lead the dollar down. And I think it's that uncertainty which makes people unable to really trade it ahead of the election.
Elsa Lignos, RBC Capital Markets, and of course there'll be many more linkages of politics into economics, finance, and investment. I'm not a big fan of it. To be full disclosure, I grew up in a house where my mother, among others, was addicted to studying the politics. What's it mean for the Dow Jones Industrial Average? I've never been a big fan of it, but I do read everyone that's attuned to this. Maybe one name that's important is David Rosenberg up in Toronto. With Rosenberg Research. David does some great work linking in investment into the political moment as well. While we had to do politics, yesterday was wonderful. David Gura of The Big Take joining us, Greg Valliere, among others. Today, we tried to do a little less. We know you're all exhausted by it. Nevertheless, here it is. Looked at Joe Matthew, Kayleigh Lyons, Balance of Power, for all their work in the heat of Washington. But what's important here is to get a voice that I adore. Henrietta Treyz is with Veda Partners, bulletproof Capitol Hill perspective, and wired in to the subgroups around 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. Henrietta Treyz on where we are in Washington.
I understand that the president has made this a sort of elites versus the rabble situation where he's saying the voters want Biden and it's the elites who've turned against him. And what's ironic is I literally wrote a note the exact same hour as he wrote his with the exact opposite takeaway. The rank and file Democrats across the country, independents, moderates, and particularly female voters, have said repeatedly all year long they do not want another term for Joe Biden. They do not believe that he is up to the task. And it's been the elites who have said, you know what, we're going to stick with this guy. The senators are behind him, the House members are behind him, and now both tides are shifting. And I'm really just watching which senators, from an office or a chamber where Biden operated for 36 years is going to make the decision to say, hey, you know what? Thank you so much for your service. It's time to move on. That's really the only thing that matters right now. I think we're about a week and a half away, but that's the most important thing in D.C. right now.
Henrietta Treyz, Veda Partners, and I would point out, I think of Terry Haynes, but others as well that have said the polls are everything. There have been some polls, including a smart poll, complete poll from Bloomberg, but I really have to say, up to Milwaukee, I believe July 15. What's today? Today's the 10th, the 9th, the 10th. 5 days away or so. I think we're going to get a lot of polling in that maybe will affect the commentary that we hear from our good guests. Tomorrow, inflation. I don't have an opinion. In fact, I haven't even looked at the ECO Go to see what the year over year. Michael McKee says look at the month over month. I'm not. But inflation tomorrow, and with all the uproar in Paris, in London, France, the United Kingdom, the Sixth Republic of France, please. And in Washington, I think we've taken our eye off the ball. This is a huge report. We'll go beneath the headline data at 8:30 with a lot of good study of this disinflationary tendency, the huge mystery in America of where inflation is heading. We're on YouTube. You go to Chrome, you go to Google, and you put in YouTube Bloomberg Podcasts. You can search there for Bloomberg Podcasts. You can subscribe to Bloomberg Podcasts, Growing Out. Really nice clip. I'm sort of humbled by it. It's amazing. Thank you. World, somebody listened from Tibet today. I had to look on the map where they were. I don't even know how you get there. It's like I got to go watch the Lost Horizon movie of umpteen years ago. Thank you for watching on YouTube in Tibet. And also, of course, on Apple CarPlay and Android Auto as well. On Apple Podcasts, single best idea.